invocation. Chaplain John.
Dr. Chairman Malone, may we bow our heads together and pray. Lord our God, we know that it is good to give thanks, so we thank you this day for life, for health, and for the gift of another day that wasn't promised us. We're grateful for the recent recognition our hospital has received, and we're humbled to serve a healthcare system that is recognized nationally for excellence of care. Keep us steadfast, we pray, as we continue to deliver the superior care for each of our patients. And may we ever be reminded that each patient we care for is a person created in your image, worthy of all the respect and compassion we can provide. Bless the people who've entrusted us with their care. Bless the families who love them. Bless the staff who serve them. And bless this, our hospital board and leaders, with wisdom from above. These things together we pray. Amen.
Let's join for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, a nation
under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
I call the meeting to order of the Sarasota County Public Hospital Board on August 17th, 2015. Let me provide this information. Any citizen desiring to address the hospital board should turn in a speaker card to the board secretary. If the citizen comment pertains to an item on the agenda today, the comment will be heard early in this meeting. Otherwise, it will be heard toward the end. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Vendors, suppliers, or other persons seeking hospital contracts awarded on a competitive basis are reminded that their ability to address the board may be restricted by the terms of the invitation for bid, request for proposal, or other purchasing criteria. Lastly, the board has established a claims adjustment review panel comprised of representatives of the board, the medical staff, administration, and legal counsel to review and negotiate the settlement of claims. Accordingly, the board will not entertain comments on or discuss or negotiate claims at this meeting. So we need approval of the orders of the day.
Second.
Any changes or comments? All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
And approval of the minutes of the meeting of July 20th, 2015.
Second.
Any changes? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Very good. And now we want to welcome our soon-to-be, finally approved new board member, Mr. Jim Meister. He has been selected by the board, as you know, and his paperwork is in progress. So when the paperwork comes back from Tallahassee, he'll be totally official, but we've invited him to join us today. Welcome. We're very glad to have you. And now it's our pleasure to have Dr. Hofberger, CV Surgery, give us a talk today, and I think you're going to make the introductions, right, Dr.
Yes.
Fiorica?
Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jonathan Hofberger for our presentation today. He did his training, he did his medical school training at Nova Southeastern University, then went on to do his residency and internship in surgery at Michigan State University. Then he went on to do a cardiovascular fellowship at Rush Presbyterian Hospital in Chicago. He has recently joined the cardiovascular group here at Sarasota Memorial. He's developed a special interest in minimally invasive cardiothoracic surgery, and I'm happy to have him present his work as he's joined our group here.
Thank you very much for the privilege to speak in front of you guys. I want to talk today about minimally invasive valve surgery. It's one of my main interests, one of the reasons why I came here. I was on the east coast of Florida for the last 5 years doing this there, and I've kind of made it my little niche since I've been in practice. before we talk about minimally invasive, I want to talk a little bit about traditional open heart surgery so you can kind of see where we're going. Traditional open heart surgery is tried and true. We've been doing it for a long time. The first use of bypass machine was in 1953, and that opened up the whole gateway to the bypass operations that we do, the valve operations, because we were able to stop the heart, work in a bloodless field, and do surgery without excess bleeding. It gave us excellent exposure to the heart and the surrounding structures by doing a sternotomy, which is an incision in the middle of the chest and dividing the breastbone. It allowed us to get our hands in there to touch and feel. It was easy to control what I call SEEs, or significantly emotional events, or bad things that happen, by getting your finger on whatever's bleeding. And the results have been tried and true. It's reproducible, it's a low mortality, and we've been doing it for decades. The procedures are performed efficiently in a timely fashion in a shorter time. The drawbacks are that when you open up the sternum, the patients that we operate on are sick, they're old, they have other comorbidities, and that can cause infection. It's also painful to have your sternum opened. When you open the sternum, you get more blood loss, and the lengths of stay are longer as well. And with the long lengths of stay, you have to have the sternum heal, and that takes about 6 weeks for the bone actually to heal, like any bone. And then it takes about 3 to 6 months to recover from an operation. Could you guys hear? Oh, am I speaking okay? Okay. So we talk about an alternative approach to getting into the chest to do the same thing that we planned on doing with it open. And why should we do this? Well, number one, it's good for patients. If we can get them through the same operation with a smaller incision or not going through the sternum itself, it's better for the patients. The procedure's safe. We do it the same way as we do it open. It's just a different exposure technique, and I'll show it to you in a second. But it's good for Sarasota Memorial Hospital because it distinguishes us from other programs in the area. There's a lot of heart programs in the area, but there's not a lot of people doing minimally invasive. 20% of appropriate patients are being treated with minimally invasive. So there's more patients that can have this done, and this is an opportunity for our hospital. And patients are educating themselves in minimally invasive. So if you're not offering it, patients are going on the internet, they're looking things up, and they want to go to a hospital that can offer it. Well, here's what patients need to know. Minimally invasive surgery is better than open because it's and this is not in order of importance, but it's improved cosmetic results. They get a smaller incision. Patients are generally happy with smaller incisions. There's less blood loss because instead of going through the sternum and having the bleeding that occurs when you open up the sternum, we're going through the ribs, we're separating the ribs, and there's less use of transfusions. Healing time is improved. Instead of 6 weeks for a bone to heal, I tell the patients to go out and do whatever you do. If I say if it hurts, don't do it. But they can walk out of the hospital, and if they feel like they can play golf, they can go ahead and do that. A lot of times they're restricted by just, it is still an operation. They have less pain, reduced healing time. They are discharged early from the hospital. Usually for traditional open heart surgery, they're in the hospital 5 to 7 days. With minimally invasive, it's usually about 3 to 5 days. I say that the younger patients get out earlier. The older patients still take a little bit longer time. But where you find the improvement is their time to recovery and back to activities of daily life. Instead of taking 3 to 6 months, it's usually about 2 to 4 weeks. So who's a candidate for this? Mostly people that need valve surgery, aortic valve replacement, mitral valve repair, mitral valve replacement, repair of atrial septal defects, tricuspid valve repairs. You can't do bypass surgery at the same time because with bypass surgery, you have to get to all of the territories of the heart. So if I'm going to do a bypass, I might have to get to an artery on the front of the heart, I might have to get to one on the back, one on the side, and you can't do that through the small keyhole incision. Why don't all surgeons do it? Well, first of all, you have to get the hospital to buy the equipment, and it is a little more costly than the minimally invasive stuff. It's not as expensive, as the open stuff. It's not as expensive as the robot, but it's still it's a capital outlay. It's a technically difficult procedure for people that aren't used to going through the side because it's a different exposure, and that takes a little bit of guts to overcome it until you get more familiar with that area. You're not getting exposed to this in residency a lot, and even when you are getting exposed to it, going through a small incision, I call it the one-man show. One person's in there, one person's looking at it, and if you're a resident and you're standing alongside, you really can't see what's going on. But if your face is in the incision, then the person teaching you can't get their face in it too. So it's a little bit tough to teach. And then a lot of hospitals have low procedural volumes, and so if you have low volumes to begin with, the patients that are candidates for the surgery are even lower. So if you're doing 5 of these a year, you really never get good at it. So here's what we're talking about. This is an incision that we would make in a sternum. You can see the heart behind the sternum. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to make the incision smaller. So we can actually make a keyhole incision through the front where you're only dividing part of the sternum and opening it up. But what happens if we don't even use the sternotomy saw? This is the saw that we use. It's like a jigsaw. It's like a handheld jigsaw. And what happens if we don't even open the sternum at all? Well, then you have minimally invasive. So taking an incision, a small keyhole incision like this that goes in the front, and then we put it on the side and just spread the ribs. Now that's minimally invasive, okay? That's not having all the morbidity associated with opening that chest. We use some instruments, retraction instruments, so that we can see. And over here is the mitral valve that we're looking at. And you see that the incision is just about the size of what we're working in. So that really helps limit the cutting to just the one area where we expect the valve to be. And since we're in Sarasota, I have to make a golf analogy. We use the same old instruments. Okay, the instruments to the left here are the old, same tried and true instruments that we use for open procedures. But what we did is we changed the shafts on them. Okay, and so now they look like this. So they open and close real small on the bottom, and they open and close on the top and stuff. But that single 5mm shafted instruments means you can get more instruments in there. You can work with two hands through that little incision. You're not worried about that wide opening and closing. Where does the robot fit in? For cardiac surgery, in my hands, I think that the robot's very cumbersome. Now, that's not saying the robot's bad. There are many operations that the robot is good in. And even there are people doing open heart surgery with the robot. But I think that you have to be doing a lot of it, and you have to have a team. The guys that are doing 3, 4, 5, 6 cases a week using the robot for heart surgery, they're good at it. But if we're doing 1 or 2 cases a month or 1 or 2 cases a week, I think that the way I do it with the minimally invasive really makes it more reproducible for everybody in the room, all of the staff and everything. It's not cumbersome to have the robot. And honestly, the incision is no different. I would say that this is my robot right here, my hands, and I can see with my eyes. And I'm not back in a pod in a corner where, God forbid, we get into trouble. I have to first go outside and scrub my hands before I can get in and attend to the patient. Okay? So if we have an emergency or something like that, I'm right there, and I'm right at the bedside. We can use all the same valves that we used before. We can do mitral repair techniques. Anybody who knows about the mitral repair, they've been doing it for 20, 30 years, but recently the data shows that if you can repair the mitral valve, you should do it for lots of reasons. And actually, the American College of Cardiology came out with very strong verbiage on this that says that if your surgeon at your hospital is not experienced at repairing mitral valves, you need to go to a hospital that does. Good news is here, we all repair valves. Dr. Sell, myself, Dr. Fong, that's coming, everybody repairs valves. So we're okay with that. These are the rings we use. And you want to see just quickly what it looks like when we're on the inside? No blood and guts okay, a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So here we're putting stitches in. This is the aorta here. And you can see we're looking right directly at it and stuff. I can touch with my fingers if I need to. It's a little far, okay? This looks like it's up close, but it's about 6-8 inches away. So it's not that easy to get a hand in there, but you can make an incision if you need to, make it bigger, and actually get your hands in. This is a cannula that we use to stop the heart. The stuff along the side here is the pericardium, which is the sac around the heart. What they did now is they put a clamp on over here, and we're slowing the heart down. You can see the heart slowly starting to stop. Okay, slow down. All right, and if you see, there's a little condensation on this cannula because the stuff that we're using is real cold, keeps the heart cold. Now that everything's open, the heart's open and stuff, and you can see this is what we see. This is the anterior leaflet of the mitral valve. The posterior leaflet is sitting in this like little pool here of blood, which they're going to suck out in a second, and you can see that the exposure's great. We're looking right down the barrel, so the exposure is really good. So again, it's good for the patients. It's easy. It's a reproducible operation, and it's something that can be converted to open. God forbid there's an issue. All right, so let's keep moving. So we take an incision that looks like this. This is the traditional 12 to 16-inch incision, 2 chest tubes in the middle, and we turn it into something like that, about 6 centimeters. Okay, these are post-op patients. If you can see, this is my patient that I operated on here. This is the incision, and I put my card up against it and stuff. You can see it's just a regular badge like you guys have, or a credit card. The gentleman on the right here, he had a minimally invasive mitral valve as well. His incision is up on the side. You can barely see it. Here's a better look at him. This guy had mitral valve surgery. Here's what he looks like on the side. Okay, and just for scale, it's about 6 centimeters. So our goals are to get the patients up after surgery real quick. We get them up and moving. We remove the chest tubes on post-op day 1. They're transferred out of the step-down on post-op day 1. We can start anticoagulants if they need Coumadin or heparin or anything else. The blood loss is very minimal. Instead of losing 3 to 5 to a liter of blood after surgery, it's 100 cc's out of the tubes, and we get the patients moving. You usually go home anywhere from, I've had them, the young ones go home as early as 3 days. The older ones can go home 7 days, sometimes 8. It just depends on what keeps them in the hospital. This is the data. That's out. This is national data, 2,100 patients, 203 with isolated aortic valve or mitral valve surgery, and these are patients over the age of 75. The length of stay with minimally invasive was 7 versus 12, and again, this is all comers. So a lot of people get atrial fibrillation after surgery, and that can keep them in the hospital an extra couple of days. But here, look at this mortality, 1.7% versus 9.5%. Morbidity and mortality, 21% versus 45%. And look down here, wound infections, 0.8% versus 6%. Okay, kidney failure, 0.8% versus 16%. So that's where the benefit comes. Okay, here's our data. Well, it's my data in part. We just started doing this since I've been here a few months now. So I've done about, I think we're on 6 or 8 cases so far. I started here in May, and we're building it up. I actually have 2 tomorrow. I've got 1 on Thursday. So the volume is starting, the word's starting to get out, which is great. But I've done about 90 cases since in the last 3 years. And it runs the whole gamut. We can do aortic valve replacements. We can do combined cases. We can do redo operations. So it's not limiting us as long as it's not coronaries. The age range was 31 to 85. We had 2 reentries for bleeding. Okay, and 3 conversions to open. And it says intraoperative mortality is 0. I had 1 patient that we got off the table but subsequently died in the perioperative. So saying 0 is kind of, it's not really 0. It is 0 technically, but honestly, it was we had 1 patient die. And 30-day mortality was 1 patient. So it's it's a reproducible operation. The mortalities are low. So what I wanted you to get from this talk is that minimally invasive valve surgery is reproducible, it's safe, it's performed in a reasonable cross-clamp time and cardiopulmonary bypass time, which is the measurement of how long we're on the bypass machine with the heart stopped. It's not very much longer than we do it when it's open. Less blood transfusions, decreased ICU and hospital length of stay, quicker returns to daily life, and decreased infection rates, and lastly is improved cosmetic results. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer them. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Henry.
Anything involved in this minimally invasive that limits the appearance of surgical debris in the bloodstream?
Well, we use all sorts of filters and things like that while we're on the heart-lung machine that collect the blood. It goes through filters, and then we use a cell saver that sucks out. That sucks the blood out and then goes through filters and gets processed and stuff. So there's stuff even when we do it open, we use the same kind of filtering techniques as closed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Dr. Towler.
With TAVRs, we are looking at older patients.
Mm-hmm.
Can do the replacement younger people with this.
Sure, we can do these in younger people as well as in the older people. I think that our bypass times aren't necessarily that much longer. You got to select your patients. What I worry, the thing that occurs is when you do a minimally invasive and the patients don't do well, people start to go, well, it was done because it was done minimally invasive. That patient might not have done well with it open, but because it was minimally invasive, that's the first thing that gets blamed. So you got to select your patients well. You got to be aware that minimally invasive may not be for everybody, and you got to be cautious. The first thing we want to be is safe. So you're right. The younger patients they love the minimally invasive, and they're good candidates for it. The older patients are good candidates for it too, but you got to be just very selective. You just got to be safe. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mr. Hudson.
When you had different ratios, I'm back. What is the difference between, I guess, the mortality and morbidity?
So morbidity is any of these things like prolonged intubation, kidney failure, wound infection, stroke. Those are morbidities. So those are all of the complications that can happen except kill you. Then they have mortality, which is death. So morbidity and mortality is 21%. We see that. There's a lot of people that get pneumonias after surgery. There's a lot of people. So you wouldn't believe that morbidity is actually, 21%, but look at it for open. It's almost half the patients have something wrong.
Pardon the interruption, but Tram, in this world, those two words are defined differently than normal English.
Yeah. Complications, and you think nobody wants to admit to a complication, but complications are, because it sounds almost litigious, But a complication is something that happens like a pneumonia. It may not be your fault. It may not be something that there's strokes, there's pneumonias, there's infections that occur, things like that. We do everything we can to control most of those things, but they still, it's a statistics kind of thing. As long as you're at or below the statistic, you're good. You just don't want to be above it.
Well, if I saw this chart, I'd probably pick the invasive.
Yeah. I mean, if you can have it and it's good, it's good to have. Now, remember, they picked 75-year-olds that were candidates, good candidates. You gotta be selective. If you're not selective with your patients, you can end up with trouble.
One more question.
Mr. Taylor.
Is there anybody else in this neighborhood doing?
I'm new to Sarasota, so I'm not sure. I don't believe that there's anybody near here. There might be somebody in Tampa doing it. I'm not sure. But I know that everybody wants to come to Sarasota Memorial, so I'm happy about that.
So are we. Thank you so much. And I've just been told by our CEO that you came in April and you've been involved in 50-plus surgeries.
Yeah, I think I'm
since
getting
you've
as
been
close
here.
to 60, and this week is a good week too. So
That's
I've been very
wonderful.
grateful to the cardiologists that have supported me, and we're there. The cardiologists are happy to have all the surgeons here, and Dr. Sell has really made an incredible program. And he started when I first got here, gave me a couple of a week of cases and stuff. And the news gets out quick from the OR if you're doing a decent job and you're good to the people that you're working with, and your bypass times are low and everything. The word gets out and people want to support you. So thank God that's what's happening, and so far so good. And I'm happy to be here. So.
Well, thank you so much for all you do and for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we have an Excel winner next, Anastasia Morris in orthopedics.
You get to come stand right here. They make sure they get you on the camera. You nervous?
Yeah.
You have no reason to be at all. So we are proud to have Anastasia Morris. Anastasia. I'm sorry, I mispronounced it. Anastasia Morris is our Excel recipient for the month of August. Anastasia is a HUC and a CMT2 on our orthopedics unit. Anastasia is a dedicated leader on orthopedics. She has been an employee of SMH for 14 years, starting as a teenager. She has an impeccable trait which is nearly impossible to teach: initiative. No job's too big, no task undoable. Her knowledge and savviness are second to none. So when you are nominated, all your peers write something about you, and then we put them all in, and then we repeat some of them in here. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're all good things. We wouldn't put the bad ones in here. There were no bad ones. All right? So when I see Anastasia on the unit, I know my day, as well as the unit's day, is going to be calm, organized, professional, and pleasant. She makes me happy to be at work. Customer service is first on her list of priorities, and it is obvious by her actions. Anastasia is a perfectionist at her job. Her knowledge goes so much further than manning the desk, which she does so flawlessly. She has all the answers when it comes to ordering payroll, organizing hurricane teams, and the list goes on. She could be the charge nurse some days because she's so well versed in all aspects of her ortho units. I have never seen her have a bad day. She does not get frustrated when I know for a fact I have asked her the same question numerous times in the past. Her maturity level is unmatched. Anastasia goes out of her way to help us with our patients when the floor is busy. She will grab a milk or spoon for a patient, will a discharge, check on a bed alarm, and even track down patient belongings. It's my absolute honor to work with her, and sincere pride, I humbly nominate her for this well-deserving Excel recognition. So thank you very much.
Mr. Verner, would you read the plaque also? Thank you.
I would be honored to read the plaque. So, as we said, Anastasia is our Excel Employee of the Month. The hospital board and administrative staff of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System are grateful to all employees who consistently enhance the quality of a patient's stay by making an extra effort in their daily activities. The Excel program is designed to recognize employees who have distinguished themselves by superior performance and attention to others. Individuals recognized are models of excellence who strengthen the quality of patient care and image of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System in the community. The hospital board and administrative staff are pleased to present you, Anastasia Morris, with the Excel Award for August 2015 in recognition of your demonstrated courteous and caring attitude and contributions towards excellence at Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System. Signed, myself, Chief Executive Officer, and Dr. Marguerite Malone, our Chair of the Public Hospital Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To hear from you. No? You don't have to.
Thank you. You're welcome. And then we have the third quarter leadership award, Heather Graber, Clinical Coordinator, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit.
Stand by me, Heather?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I'm not scared.
I didn't think you were. I'm more nervous, all right? So, our leader of the third quarter for 2015 is Heather Graber. The recipient of Sarasota Memorial Hospital's Leadership Award for third quarter. Heather has been an employee of SMH since 1999. She is clinical coordinator of the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. Heather is described as a leader that wears many hats, and despite transitioning into a leadership role, she manages to maintain all of her clinical skills. Heather is a true multitasker and never hesitates to step in wherever help is needed. Heather attends high-risk deliveries, participates in neonatal transports, and steps into the charge and nursing roles with ease. She's an expert NICU nurse. Heather utilizes team steps tools when communicating with staff. She's an active listener and an excellent problem solver. Heather is a motivational and positive and leads the unit with integrity. She is a genuine person who is extremely approachable. She knows how important it is to encourage, support, and recognize her team. We're also lucky to have such an amazing leader as you here, so thank you very much. Thank you.
And the plaque?
You got it. So, the SMH Leadership Award. The hospital board and administrative staff of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System are grateful to all leaders who constantly enhance the quality of a patient's stay by making an extra effort in their daily activities. Inherent to that leadership is the ability to enhance employee satisfaction and act as a role model to inspire our staff to become the very best that they can be. As that role model, you have developed a department that is a benchmark of excellence for the entire organization. The leadership program is designed to recognize leaders who have distinguished themselves by superior performance and attention to others. Individuals recognized are models of excellence who strengthen the quality of patient care, staff satisfaction, and the image of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System in the community. The hospital board and administrative staff are pleased to present you, Heather Graber, with the Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System Leadership Award for third quarter 2015 in recognition of your demonstrated leadership abilities and contributions towards the excellence of SMH. Signed, David Verinder, Chief Executive Officer, and Dr. Marguerite Malone, Chair of the Public Hospital Board. Thank you.
I'd love to. Thank you, everyone. I'm just very fortunate to work at such a superb hospital with an amazing women and children's division with the support of Pam Beitlich and Deb Harmon as the clinical manager, as well as the staff. So it's been a great transition, but I'm proud of my award, so thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Heather.
Just before you leave,
I have a question
think
for Heather.
Mr. Strasser had a question for you.
Heather, several years ago, we had someone here from neonatal.
Yes.
And I know that, and Pam probably remembers this, we talked about cuddlers.
Yes.
And I know we have people we employ to do that. I volunteer at Cuddly. and in 2 years, I haven't heard a darn thing. Could you help me?
Well, you'll be on the top of my list. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
We apologize for that question.
Well, we'll just move right on to the report of the medical staff. Dr. James Fiorica, Chief of Staff.
This month I have no action items and nothing to report this month.
Thank you. And the auxiliary report next, Ms. Dottie Ziegler, Auxiliary President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Auxiliary Board will complete this fiscal year with the following goals achieved. We have revised and updated our bylaws and updated our volunteer code of ethics. We have formed a committee and begun work on updating our uniforms. The changes will be presented at our annual general meeting in September so we can get input from the volunteers at large. Our teen volunteers will be going back to school soon. We thank them for their service for the summer, and we wish them well as they return to school for another year. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And to the Sarasota Memorial Healthcare Foundation, Ms. Alex Quarles, President.
Very short report. We've clearly been on a growth spurt this summer. We are planning on adding several new staff members. We are working with the construction office to renovate our existing facility, to add more staff. And other than the Key to the Cure on October 15th, which we expect about 1,200 people to attend, that morning, I will say thank you to Ms. Caroline Kalish for being a presenter for us on the HIPAA laws to our Professional Advisors Network that morning. So thank you for that. Other than that, our board meeting won't meet again until the end of September. Thank you.
Thank you. And the Secretary's report, Mr. Tom Towler.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The September agenda is September 1st, a Tuesday, 8 o'clock board breakfast, 9 o'clock quality committee, 10 o'clock finance committee, and 11 o'clock the HR committee. Then on the 3rd of September, a Thursday, 8 o'clock PSI board, 9 o'clock mission and planning, 10 o'clock investment committee. Then on Tuesday the 8th, we have at 5:01 in the afternoon, the preliminary tax millage and budget hearing. And then on the Monday, the 21st, we have a public board meeting at 1 o'clock, and at 5:01, the tax final millage and budget hearing. That is my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And the Treasurer's report, the Assistant Treasurer will do this today, Mr. Bob Strasser.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the bad debts and charity care for the month ended July 31st, 2015, in the amount of $12,903,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And we'll move on now to the operations report. Mr. Bill Wojin, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the financial highlights for July. We're now 10 months through our fiscal year. And for the system, operating revenue for the month of July, operating revenue came in at $59,184,000 compared to a budget of $43,159,000. Through 10 months of the fiscal year, operating revenue is $547,701,000 compared to a budget of $477,070,000. Our total expenses for the system for the month of July, $50,302,000 compared to a budget of $46,378,000. Through 10 months of the fiscal year, $499,204,000 compared to a budget of $477,618,000. For operating income in the rating agency format for the system, for the month of July, $11,595,000, compared to a budgeted operating loss of $477,000. For the month, our actual operating margin was 18.4% compared to a budget of negative 1%. Fiscal year to date, our operating income is $75,115,000 compared to a budget of $26,545,000. And for our looking at operating margin through the 10 months, operating margin actual 12.8% compared to a budget of 5.2%. For statistics for the hospital, our average daily occupancy through 10 months has been 447 compared to a budget of 384. Admissions through, again, 10 months, 23,230 compared to a budget of 22,140. Our average length of stay is at 5.01 days compared to last year at 4.64 days. Continue with statistics. Surgery cases through 10 months, 16,671 compared to a budget of 15,733. Births, 2,719 compared to a budget of 2,412. Our outpatient registrations, again through 10 months, 346,602 compared to a budget of 348,969. And registrations in our emergency care centers, 97,195 compared to a budget of 85,088. In fiscal year to date, our case mix index for all patients is 1.73, and for Medicare patients, 1.92. Madam Chair, that concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Lori Lang, Chief Operating Officer.
Madam Chair and members of the board, it's my pleasure to give the operating report for the month of July. I am delighted to tell you that we are on track to open the MRI on Cattleman Road on October 1st. We've run into a few surprises from mechanical difficulties and electrical issues in the building, and even having to take out a sidewall versus a window to be able to accept this unit. We will be opening on October 1st. And of course, this will be the first 3 Tesla MRI in our healthcare system. And we know that orthopedic specialists prefer this technology because it is the best technology in MRI imaging that's available. And it allows to capture the crispest and most advanced images without using contrast. So and this particular unit can accommodate patients up to 500 pounds. And as we know, this will allow us to strengthen our relationship with physicians in the community. Moving on to pharmacy, as you are aware, we started our 340B program. This went live in February of 2015. And this is federal program mandates that drug manufacturers give the hospital deep discounts for drugs that are offered in the ambulatory arena. And to date, we have reduced our drug expense because of this program at a rate of about $250,000 every month. Moving on to Code Black. So for those of you that know what Code Black is and don't take the new TV series as what Code Black means, for us, Code Black means that there is a bomb threat. And as you know, on July 22nd, a suspicious package was reported to us that was located on the corner of Tamiami and Arlington. city and county public officials or public safety leaders came, and they gave an evacuation order to clear all 5 floors of our southeast corner of our critical care tower, which you all know is our most critically, where we house and take care of our most critically ill patients. While this was an excellent exercise in practicing our evacuation skills, our leadership felt communication between the hospital and the public safety officials could have been improved. So we invited these individuals to come and talk with us about that process and how the evacuation happens. So people from the fire department, the police department, public safety, the sheriff's department, the SWAT team, and the bomb squad all showed up in our conference room for a rather intimate discussion with that many people around the table. But as a result, we have a better understanding of the guidelines and standards in which they give an evacuation order. And it really is, if it's this, then we evacuate by this many hundreds yards. What they were not familiar with is what is the floor plan for a hospital, what is our structural support that we've built our facility in, what is hurricane strength windows, nor were they aware of the individuals that they would have to be evacuating. So we really engaged in a wonderful dialogue, and they have a better sense of what are the operations of a hospital. And in the future, before this type of order is given, they have agreed that they would have a top official from the hospital part of that discussion, and we would make a decision together. So I have to say it was an excellent communication, and David Verinder led a very respectful and mutually beneficial conversation. Moving forward to hospital renovations and upgrades, as you know, we are constantly trying to upgrade our facilities and our patient rooms for patient safety and for convenience. As we move into the digital era, we know that we need to do documentation for our patients' vitals and all their information on a computer. And we have struggled on what is the best way to do that. So is it a CAL? So is it a computer on wheels? Or do you have a computer in every room that's attached to the wall? So the top picture on the left is one of the ways that we started, which is put a computer in the room. But if you notice, this computer is at the footboard of the patient. So when the nurse or physician is documenting, their back is to the patient, and it doesn't really encourage a great dialogue of not only what the information we're tracking and inputting, but it's the caregiver's back is to the patient. So we are moving these computers that are in the room to the headboard side of the wall with a larger articulating arm, so it can have free movement to wherever the patient is in the room, and it gives a lot more convenience for the caregiver, and it allows for better communication. The top right-hand corner is about patient safety, which is always our number one objective. And we are installing barcode readers in our patient rooms. And as you see at the top, it is a wand that can be taken off and barcode both the medication and the patient's armband to make sure that we're giving the right medication to the right patient, and this will reduce patient errors, medication errors. In the bottom, we are upgrading all of our public restrooms throughout the organization. We started on the first floor near the main auditorium, and we will be moving throughout the organization. And this is a picture of what an upgraded bathroom looks like. And men, do not be concerned. This says for women only, but that means we have men's rooms upgraded as well. So you will not be left out. Moving on to our rehabilitation pavilion. During the design phase of building such a facility, we look to our architects and our engineering experts as our subject matter experts to create the design. But we don't stop there. We take their design and we create a mock-up room. And we ask people to come in and look at the design and what the room will look like based on this first set of drawings, and we ask for feedback. So beginning on July 28th, we began hosting tours of this model rehab room. It is not plumbed, but it looks like it is. And we say what works and what doesn't work and what can we do better. And these are some of the things that we were told and some changes that we'll be making. So the bulkhead and that over sink area, that has been told to us by our nursing staff and physicians it's really not needed, so that's going away. And then the sink is going to be moved to a vestibule right inside the door, which will allow this area really to be maximized for the patient and family space. The other is that bulkhead above the bed was for built-in charting station. And the nurses have said in this area they would rather have cows and not have a computer against the wall, because if the patient is over on the far chair, they can't really get close to the patient and document. So these are all great changes that we've learned from listening. The other is that I would like to say some board members have come through, and this was a really great suggestion for individuals that have strength issues because of their injury. This is an articulating grab bar that comes down from the side of the wall down, so someone using the bathroom can actually have 2 arm rails to lift themselves up or down. And what we're most pleased about is this gives independence to our patients and also a greater degree of dignity. But if you haven't had a chance to walk through, please come by. The tours are still open. We are doing tours on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 3:30 and noon to 5. We do ask that you just give us a call and let us know you're coming, or if anyone is coming, so reservations are requested. And we are pleased with the feedback that we're given. And before you leave that, Lori, of course.
Yes.
Are you planning to, or is there a plan to leave this mock room open for a period of time? Because I know a lot of our prospective donors that would like to support this won't be back until the end of October, November.
Tom is not here, so it is expected to stay open for a while, but I don't know the end date. At some point, there does need to be an end date because we need to move forward.
Agreed.
So we can hit our milestones for construction, but I will get that date for you.
Great. Thanks very much.
Any other questions? Madam Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no board reports and no committee reports this month. And we'll move on to the President's report. Mr. David Verinder.
Sorry.
Not a problem.
Oh.
Tags are switched.
They've changed name tags.
You ready for me, Dr. Malone?
Yes, thank you.
Recognize that place.
All right, so I am here to present my report for the month of August. What are we in? July.
August.
Sorry, off kilter here. 2015. So I'm going to start with the the leader report card, and go through our categories that we look at each month. So for our service pillar, we look at our HCAP scores. We have a goal of having 9 out of 11 indicators at the 50th percentile or higher. We are currently running 8 out of 11, so still working, still have teams working around that to improve to get to our goal. On the outpatient side, which is our likelihood of recommending goal, we have a goal of hitting 83rd percentile. I am pleased to report that we're now at the 84th percentile, so special thanks to Lori Lang and Frank Morgan for really leading that and getting us on track. In the people pillar, we have our 2 indicators. The first one is merits on time. We have a goal at 95%. We've been struggling with that all year, and I will have to say that we have been working on action plans around that, and I'm happy to report we're back to where we should be at 95%. So special thanks to all of our leaders who put in some extra effort this past month. Turnover rate, we have a goal of being 16% or below. Happy to report that we are at 13% and holding. In the quality indicator, our organization percent of patient safety readiness, we have a goal of being 95% or higher. Happy to report that we are at 99%. Infection prevention, which is a combined overall standardized infection rate, we have a goal of being less than 0.95, and I'm happy to report we are. We're at 0.91. And in finance pillar, as Bill Wojcik, our CFO, reported earlier, we have a budget or a goal of 4.4% this past year, and we are tracking at an 11.1% margin. In a growth pillar, we have the first indicator is inpatient admissions. We had a goal of 26,308. I'm happy to report we are exceeding that at 27,392. And on the outpatient registrations, the goal was 657,000, and we are exceeding that as well at 682,000. So we look in a little bit deeper into our HCAP scores. We do see the 11 indicators on the left-hand side here, and as you can see, we're at 8 out of 11. So we're concentrating on all of them, but spending particular interest on the responsiveness of hospital staff, which are 2 points below the number we're hoping to hit. Quietness of the hospital environment, which is 5 points below, and then 1 point below on communication about medicines. So still doing a lot of work around all of those. Quarterly, we take a look and see where we are with others in the market. You can see our score on the far left, Sarasota Memorial, obviously, and then where the other hospitals are that are in this region. And we feel pretty good about our results compared to others in the area. We don't stop there. We go and look at results for some of the best hospitals in the state of Florida. And some are doing a bit better than us. You can see that Mayo Jacksonville is hitting 11 out of 11, and Florida Hospital at 10, and Cleveland Clinic at 10. So we're certainly want to be in that top ranking with them. But when we look overall, we're comparing. We feel pretty good about our number there too. And then finally, we compare against other nationally recognized hospitals. Once again, Phil, we compare very well across the board with people like Mass General, Johns Hopkins, and the Cleveland Clinic and others. So just some information for you. When we look at our outpatient, as I reported, we're at the 84th percentile, which versus our goal of the 83rd. We continue to improve some of those departments that are in that below the 50th percentile and move them to the middle group. And then we're working on moving some of the middle to the right-hand column. So I think this picture does show a better picture than we have had in the past. And just wanted to thank all the leaders that have helped here to make that happen. Moving on to our people. This is just a great, hardworking group of Sarasota Memorial corporate volunteers, which recently spent a morning sorting food at All Face Food Bank, providing over 3,100 meals for members of our community. It's a cause that we feel deeply with, and we're glad to participate. Next is one we call Back to School, and so our employees, physicians, and volunteers from across the healthcare system participated in the annual Back to School project, benefiting mothers, helping mothers. This program gives needy children in our community school supplies, backpacks, pencil, paper, etc., so they are ready for the school year. Wanted to thank all the volunteers who help with this each and every year. It's a great cause. Staying in the people area, we had this past weekend an open house at our Health Fit operation. There was that included a complete health and wellness check, facility tours, healthy snacks, prizes and giveaways, information on medically integrated programs, Pilates reformer demo. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure it was great. And I'm sure I mispronounced it, yes.
No, just right. Just right.
Plus complimentary chair massages. So we had a lot of people show up, and the staff was really helpful to everyone it did, and we were very thankful for the community coming out. Staying in the quality and safety area, last month, SMH held a colon cancer prevention and screening event, which included a physician presentation on colon cancer prevention, SMH dietitians, food nutrition recommendations, screening for attendees, and the Strolling Colon, an interactive walkthrough exhibit, which you see a picture there of. I'm sorry I missed that. But it was very well received and certainly had a lot of community out for it. Change the page fast. Sarasota Memorial Infusion. I'm proud to announce that our day treatment center has been renamed the Sarasota Memorial Infusion Center. The unit recently opened in a brand new location on 5 South near the E elevator. This new location has 15 treatment bays specifically designed for patients fighting serious illness such as cancer, Crohn's disease, or other conditions that require infusion treatments. The outpatient treatments and therapies provided include IV antibiotics, chemotherapy, and blood transfusions. I would just invite anybody who'd like to go and see the new area to take a look. I think it's been very well received with both our physicians that are utilize that as well as our patients. So thank you. Staying in quality and safety, the Perinatal Center of Sarasota Memorial was reaccredited by the Ultrasound Practice Accreditation Council of America Institute of Ultrasound. The center, which is includes Dr. Felice Barron and Dr. Lynn Savage, and the ultrasound techs at FM First Physician Group's Maternal Fetal Medicine Office, achieved this 3-year recognition by meeting rigorous voluntary standards, including specific training and qualifications of physicians and ultrasound techs, ultrasound equipment maintenance, documentation and record-keeping practices, quality assurance methods, the level of thoroughness, technical quality, and interpretation of sonograms. The practice has been accredited since 1997, reflecting the long time experience of our sonographers who have more than 25 years of OB ultrasound experience. So congratulations to the whole team. In the growth area, I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but we recently installed signs on our north and east sides of the hospital announcing the recent designation as a trauma center. The hospital has seen a total of, well, actually it's more than, not a total of, but more than 450 trauma cases since May 1st. So we have certainly think we have had an unmet demand, and I'm very thankful for the board for supporting this. And I think it meant a lot to the community. And finally, thank you. And is there any questions that I can answer?
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the consent agenda. Do we have any public comments? No public comments. Legal matters. Carol Ann Kalish, our
Just very briefly, I'm happy to report that on Friday, the Second District Court of Appeal issued an affirmance of an opinion that we had gotten in the HCA-HMA lawsuit against the county and Sarasota County Public Hospital District, which sought to interpret a portion of our enabling legislation to allow private hospitals to bill the county for indigent care. The Second District, like our local court, found that to be an unconstitutional interpretation of our enabling legislation, and so they affirmed the ruling that was issued here in Sarasota.
Thank you very much. Is there any other business for this body? Seeing none, we are adjourned.